Okay, so we're joining live on YouTube from our Zoom room. But yeah, on these days, you're welcome to join me in Zoom. Make sure that audio is off. And so welcome to my spiritual mindfulness moment. Glad you're with me. You can comment on YouTube or on TikTok, or you can join me on Zoom. So I'm happy today because I have this shirt. This was a gift from an evangelicalish follower, and it looks backwards on your screen, but it says, "Is Jesus your everything bagel?" And that comes from our last evangelicalish episode. Yeah. So this is a time where we come together and check our well-being together, our wholeness. Our Jewish friends have a word shalom that we see through the Bible that is translated often as peace. And we tend to think of shalom as a lack of conflict or a lack of war. But what shalom actually means is a wholeness of life. In the words of the Gospels of Jesus, Jesus called it the abundant life. It's life that says I can be okay on my best days and I can be okay on my not so good days. And that's what we rest for a moment and check as we go into our day with our spiritual mindfulness moment. For some of you, it's later than others, so let me know where you're joining from. I'm glad you're with me today. So for our mindfulness, we just sit and relax. I usually share a concept, but the goal is, hi Cleveland, glad you're here, Mama Zita. The goal is to start to do a self-inventory of your emotions. And in the Bible, it says, I, the Lord, test the heart. And that word heart is the literal word kidneys, which is where the Old Testament belief was that your emotions rested on your kidneys. And so that verse is actually, I, the Lord, test your emotions to see how you're doing, is what I would translate it as. And so think, am I having an abundant life today? And when you think of that question, even close your eyes and sort of do an inventory. How does my body feel? Where do I feel tension? How does my spirit feel? Where do I feel disturbed in the heavens? How does my inner core feel? What am I dreading? Hi, Sherry, glad you're here. And yeah, just so you guys know, you can join in the Zoom room. In fact, I'll even put the link up on YouTube, because I wish I didn't have to have all these cameras in front of my face so I don't look silly. Look all around it. Yeah. So I will put this into the YouTube. Someday I'll really get the word out that we do this on Zoom so people can know they can join there, but somebody may not feel comfortable to do it when it's just me and them. But it is available. And for those of you on TikTok, the link is in my bio. So yeah, just check how your core being is doing. What do I feel? My inner self. I know for some it's tough to have the maturity to be able to do self-inventory, because in America we're taught to keep things surfacey so that we never are actually connected to what we're really feeling inside. And that's why we tend to have a pretty high suicide rate compared to the rest of the world, why we tend to have everything in possessions and still are an extremely unhappy people. And it's sad. So I love to see us sit down and inventory and say, how am I doing right now? Yeah, so let me share to start us off today. And first, let's just be present to the fact that we're together. And this is a great moment. If you're coming on TikTok or YouTube, I would love it for you just to let me know where you're joining from, because that'll give us a connection point. I'm in California, in Fresno, California, in the middle of the state. Sherry's with us from South Carolina. Zita, Mama Zita's here from Cleveland. I'm really happy to be with you guys today. Chrissy's from Indiana, Christine from New Mexico. And just as everybody's joining, know we're on YouTube. You can follow it. I know TikTok lives have been having some problems lately. So if it's not working well on TikTok, just know you can come to YouTube. Charles is here from Chula Vista. All right. My prayer beads ready to go. JJ Talks is here from Denver. Awesome. So good to see you. So I'm going to read from Matthew 5 today. I like to just present a thought for us. And as you keep joining, let me know where you're joining from. Matthew 5. So I read as a concept from the Bible. This is not necessarily a Christian event we're doing together here, but my spirituality tends to lay more on my Christian tradition. So I share from the Christian Bible, but if you're not Christian, you feel free to, listen to it just as poetry or wisdom. And you don't have to take it necessarily as divine scripture if you choose to not do so. And some can handle that maturely and some can't. Thank you, Denise from Kansas City. Glad you're here. Yeah. So Matthew 5 says, you've heard that it was said of those of old, you shall not murder, and whoever murders will be liable to judgment. But I say to you that everyone who is angry with his brother will be liable to judgment. Whoever insults his brother will be liable to the council, and whoever says you fool or raka will be liable to the hell of fire. So if you are offering your gift at the altar and there remember that your brother has something against you, leave your gift there before the altar and go. First, be reconciled to your brother, then come and offer your gift. Come to terms quickly with your accuser while you are going with him to court, lest your accuser hand you over to the judge and the judge to the guard and you be put into prison. Truly, I say to you, you'll never get out until you have paid the last penny. So Sherry says she's here from the Georgia Bible Belt Buckle. So here we are hearing a passage about holding grievances and grudges with, this was the third link in my For You list today. Awesome, Charles. So this is a passage in the Bible about having offense or holding grudges. It's a passage about how to get through trauma and pain of relationship. And for Jesus, relationship was everything. Somebody asked me last night, well, if the rules are off, if we're not held to the 10 Commandments or the Old Testament, how do we know what sin is? And my answer to that always is sin is a violation of relationship, a violation of my relationship with God, which doesn't mean God has a list of rules and I have to follow those, because that would be like saying I have a list of rules for my wife, and if she doesn't follow my rules, I put her out of the house forever. That's not how relationship with human beings works, and that's not how relationship with God works. So a violation of my relationship with God would be to be in disagreement with who God says that I am. And violation of relationship with each other is when we do something that's out of alignment with our hearts for one another. So it's not necessarily you violated rule 1, 2, 3 through 10. It's, hey, you violated how we've agreed to live together and walk together. Sometimes those violations of relationship come at us. Sometimes they come at us at no fault of our own. Sometimes they happen to us as children and they leave a mark of trauma for the rest of our lives to deal with. I see that prayer request ever expanding. If you would type that into the Q&A box, I'll get to that when we're finished with our mindfulness moment. I'm really sad to hear that. And if you guys have any other questions, feel free to type them in the Q&A box on TikTok or on YouTube, and I'll come back to them. But I really want to share this moment about that violation of relationship could have happened when we're young and left an imprint on our hearts and on our core being and on our spirits. And what Matthew 5 is saying here is, when there's an offense that occurs in relationship, it's better to manage that offense than to worship in a church. Basically, is what it's saying. Is what the American church will say is, oh, just read your Bible and it'll be okay, or just go to a wonderful musical worship service. But those are just placations. Those are just ways to forget for a moment what's going on. But the wisdom of the Christian Bible here is saying, before you do that, go make it right however you can. So let's just relax into that word. That relationship really matters to heaven, and the pain that you're having in relationship matters to heaven. You matter to heaven. Thank you for the likes, Brox. So if I know that what's disturbing in my spirit matters to heaven, that starts to hopefully open a door of hope then that it can be dealt with. So one of the things we often hear when Matthew 5 is taught about is like, if there's an offense, you go make it right. And sometimes that's not possible. Sometimes the offense has happened to you, and sometimes the other person, particularly if that offense came as a child and it happened from a parent is often not able to deal with the reality of what happened. And you're not going to be able to set it right with them. So then what do we do with that trauma? Some of you, I can tell this is already creating tension for you to think about it. So just breathe. Let the music start to bring a peace and a safe space around that feeling. Yeah, it's okay. So let's just feel a sense of calm and peace coming into that space where the trauma exists. I'm not saying it fixes the trauma. I'm saying let's start to let ourselves feel like we get to have a moment of peace to reckon with this. So let me tell you this about injustice like that. The point of dealing with offense is being able to lay it aside so that it doesn't continue to harm us, so that the traumatizer doesn't get to continue to traumatize us, so the traumatic act doesn't get to continue to traumatize. And what happens is that part of us that was traumatized continues to cry out for justice in our lives. And so that's why sometimes when we feel like then somebody is accusing us in life, we can say, we respond very defensively or explosively because we're like, hey, before this injustice occurred and I never got justice, and what's going to happen now if I don't go get my justice? Hi, Sharon from Texas. So part of what we do in mindfulness is we start to allow ourselves to understand that creating that justice isn't our job. I do believe at the end of this version of life, before we go into the next version of life, everybody will face a reckoning for what they've done. There will be a reckoning for the deeds. I don't believe people will be cast into hellfire for eternity, but this passage talked of a hellfire of if you have malice in your heart towards your brother, towards your friend, towards your acquaintance, that you will be worthy of hellfire, that the person that holds that anger, that does that act, will face some sort of fire of reckoning, of purification, of painful coming to justice. Yeah. So what that means is you and I don't have to bring the justice into this life that sometimes is never going to be attainable if a parent or an authority figure doesn't come to a reckoning in this lifetime. But that doesn't mean I have to hold on to that need for justice. I can start to release that into the cosmos. Hi, Sherry, you joined over here on TikTok now, I see. And when I don't have to carry justice, then I'm freed to start to say, I can let that offense go so that I can freely commune with the divine of the universe. So I speak that wholeness to you today, that you can, even for just this moment, let go, set aside that need for justice. And be connected to heaven. So get real comfortable in your seat. Let yourself breathe. Sorry, I have a little bit of allergies I'm battling today. Just taking a deep breath. Let it out. As you let that breath out, think about letting that energy that it takes to hold on to that injustice be set aside for just a moment. Breathing in strength and energy for the day, and letting out that hold of injustice. And remember, setting that need for justice aside in that traumatic place in us doesn't mean that justice isn't going to be had. There will be justice. But sometimes my need to hold on to that desire for justice becomes injurious to me. And I don't deserve to have to carry that need for justice all the time. I deserve to be free from that need. Before going to the altar, let it be made right in our spirit. We can set aside that injustice and have a moment of peace, of shalom, of wholeness, of abundance of life together. Take a deep breath in. Let it out and relax into the moment. What we do in our spiritual mindfulness moment together is then start to go to a safe place in our spirit together. Relaxing into that safe space in my imagination. What's the safe space in my life? What's the place in my life, maybe real or imagined, that I used to be able to go and be safe. It may have been a field or a stream. It may have been a bedroom. It may have been a coffee shop. Someplace it was just easy, or the easiest place to access peace in the moment. What was that place for you? As you breathe in deeply and relax, can you close your eyes and imagine yourself in that space? Yeah, just imagine yourself in that space right now. And imagine your spirit in that place, connected to me and connected to this group that's together today in Zoom and on TikTok and on YouTube. You have more energy and power today than normal because you're connected to this community together today. And that will help protect you as you seek this space of safety out in your imagination. So picture yourself in that space, that safe space right now. Feel the breeze on your face, or smell the aromas that remind you of that space. Just picture yourself there right now. Able to relax, more powerful than normal because you have a group here that's behind you and with you, making you more safe than ever. Yeah, can you feel that? Now I want you to imagine the presence of the divine joining you in that space. So that could be the God of your youth that you grew up with. That could be imagining God to be the collection of all of our spirits together. That could be whatever you see, a divine presence that makes you feel safe and valued and filled with purpose. Just imagine that divine presence sitting with you. Keep breathing and relaxing. Keep feeling the power of this community giving you strength. And imagine, what would the divine presence, would it be God, as you imagine God as a wonderful father? Would it be a presence of strength and wholeness? Would it be a presence that brings a complete safety from any fear? Just let that be in your imagination right now. It can be something that's not God, absolutely. Whatever that divine presence is that makes you feel safe, makes you feel valued, makes you understand that you're connected to something bigger than yourself, to this community and to the universe. And Jesus said, love God, love your neighbor as yourself. That was a whole connection he was talking about, of you to something bigger that gives you strength more than yourself. And whatever that looks like, imagine yourself sitting with that presence with you. Can you feel being connected to the divine, making you feel more whole, making you feel loved and safe in this moment? That injustice that you've set aside, being overwhelmed by this sense of love, that this presence of love that's bigger than the universe is with you now. And it's giving you a wholeness beyond what you may know. Keep breathing, letting that breath cleanse. What does it feel like to be free of that sense of injustice, that sense of trauma, even for a moment of wholeness. Being able to be at the altar of connection to heaven without bringing the injustice of offense with it. We let it go in wholeness, in abundance today. And as you're sitting with the divine, one of the things I found is sometimes we can hear the wisdom of heaven. The Bible talks about us being seated in heavenly realms and being able to have access to the wisdom of heaven. And so you may want to say to heaven today, what do I need to know for my day? Some of you may want to say, what do you think about me? And if anybody wants to ask a question, just put it in the Q&A box and I'll answer those afterward, on TikTok, or you can comment on YouTube. But reach out and hear the wisdom of heaven. What is it that you need to know today? Maybe, why did this happen to me? It may be, who am I? Am I good? Am I worthy? Why am I here? What is the question that you need to have answered from heaven today? Just take a moment, deep breath in and out, and now in your imagination, sitting with the divine, ask anything you want to ask today. And just listen for a moment, just sit silently and see if you hear anything inside your core being that would resonate as if you're hearing heaven answer that question. What is heaven saying to you today? Yeah, don't let sort of the disruptive commenters disrupt this moment for you. What are you hearing? Some of you may want to write it down. Some of you may want to type it into the comments. But just remember this moment of being connected to heaven. If you're feeling emotion come up, let it come. Tears coming, let them come. Feeling those emotions. And so some of the people, like the commenters we have sometimes, they're people that are afraid to be in touch with their emotions, to be in touch with that inner core place of vulnerability. And sometimes it's scary for us who have suffered trauma in our lives. But let those emotions come, that feeling those emotions, processing those emotions, being present to them is the most healing thing you can do. Those tears can be so cleansing. So I bless you with your tears and the feeling of emotion today. I tell you, you are good, and that makes you human and wonderful. And that you deserve good things because you exist and you're feeling those emotions right now. It's so beautiful. So one other thing that helps us deal with injustice and pain and sort of inner trauma sometimes is gratefulness. And so as we finish this time of sitting in our safe place with the divine, let's show gratefulness. And so just say to the heavens, thank you for this moment. Thank you for this moment of being set aside, able to set aside my trauma and offense even for a moment. Yeah, I see that those tears can be really close to the surface and really healing. And so we just say, I say to you today who have connected your spirits to mine, I'm so grateful for you. I say to the spirit of heaven, thank you for connecting with me today in my safe space. And then in your imagination, say goodbye to that presence for now. Not that it won't always be in your heart, but in this moment of mindfulness together. Thank you. And then come back, breathing those relaxing, fulfilling breaths. Come back from your imagination to our place here together. Thank you for the follow, Casbah. It's the Spirit of Heaven, so grateful that I was able to sit with you today and connect with you. And I just say, Ken, I hope we can be together again soon, but I take you into myself, and I will know that you're with me as I walk through my day today. And for some of you who aren't totally ready to let go of the offensive trauma, it's okay for you to pick it back up and carry it now if you need to, if that's what helps you feel like there's hope. I don't want to steal that from you. Thank you, Charles, for the likes. So let's share a little bit about what our experience was. If you want to type in the comments what you experienced, what you heard from heaven. This is our sharing time. Casbot says, thank you. This has been very comforting. Good. And then what we want to do is carry that comfort into our day and say, okay, I'm more powerful today because I had this comforting moment. And so as I finish my meditation time, I blow out my candle and just imagine that's a representation of my thoughts and prayers going to heaven. So just share, what did you experience in your mindfulness moment today on YouTube or TikTok? Just share in the comments. I would love to hear. For me, I just felt, and so when I sit, sometimes I sit and picture God sort of traditionally as I knew God as a child. Casbot says, I'm going to carry this through to tomorrow. But today I just really felt like enveloped by this sense of love that came from our connection together as a group and as a community of people. And I have an I am statement that I say over myself every day. And as I was saying, what do I need to know today? Wisdom of heaven. I was reminded of one of my I am statement bullet points. I have this here. It's my I am statement. The reflection's going to make it hard to see. But these are the things I say over myself every day to remind myself of my value in the world a lot. And one of them is I am a carrier of excellence who gets things done in order to fulfill my destiny of success. And I just felt like heaven was reminding me, you have a destiny of success. You have a destiny of success. And so I'm just really going to hang on to that word today, that I have a destiny of success. Yeah, so that was really encouraging for me today. Thank you for the rose, Rosie. You're awesome. So what did heaven say to you today? And for some of you, this may be a new experience. And so what I would encourage you is this is preserved on my YouTube channel, and you can go watch it again and again, because sometimes this takes practice to learn how to sit with the divine and picture God, if you will, with us in our safe space. And so sometimes it takes practice. And once you start to learn it, it starts to become easier and easier to do. If you didn't hear anything from heaven today, that's okay. We're all on our journey together in learning. So Jay Jr. on YouTube says, thank you. It's been uplifting taking time to sit with God and plug in. Knowing a community like this out here is encouraging. Thank you, Jay Jr. I'm Tam says, I'm a cessationist. Should I continue here? If not, blessings. You're welcome here, Tam. I welcome everybody with any belief, and you can ask questions. Just don't be disruptive is all I ask. And don't tell people they're wrong in this venue for this moment. So it's up to you if you want to remain or not. Kazbot says, heaven is telling me everything is going to be okay. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. BB Kitty says, I have a job where I'm always with people who were hurt by the church. This experience helped feel not alone. Yeah, man, sometimes when you're carrying a lot of pain from other people, you need a wash down every once in a while from others. So make sure you're in a community where people can say, let's wash you down from that. What is that? Maybe you're asking about. Cessationist is somebody that believes like there used to be a time where you could interact with heaven and miracles and the divine or something like that, and now they believe you can't. Like as a Christian, you just have the Bible and that's it, and that's really all you have. There's no interaction with the divine at all. And it's a difficult belief for me. It's an unusual one. It's saying we have this omnipotent, omniscient, all-powerful God, and a book was written about him, and now that's it. All you can do is read his book. You can't talk to this omniscient, omnipotent, ever-present, all-powerful God. All you can do is read a book about him, and I just don't get it. But if my friend wants to explain more why they believe that, then that's great. Ryan Marshall says, no, we have each other. Ryan, I've really appreciated your comments through here and how you've been kind to people coming in. We have one another. So as a cessationist, you're saying we can experience God through each other. Okay, fair enough. I, for one, have seen, and so I share this a lot with my atheist friends, that I've just seen too many things that are supernatural to not believe there's a divine that we can interact with. And as I tell my atheist friends, I'm totally willing to stipulate that maybe that's something that comes from somewhere in my brain. And that's fine. I'm not going to argue where it comes from. I just know that it's very empowering to interact with it. And so I'm not going to give that up. And I'm Tam says, I shall not get into it. Okay. Thank you, Tam. I appreciate that. Thank you for being kind. So many Christians these days are not kind. Christianity and kindness don't intersect very often anymore, particularly on social media, but it's really discouraging to see what my lineage has become. Hi, Denise. How are you today? So yeah, if you missed our spiritual mindfulness moment together, go to my YouTube channel and you can see it preserved there. It'll be recorded and you can watch it anytime you want and practice being in the presence of the divine. And I encourage you to do so. And then I encourage you to come back here live every Wednesday, 7 a.m. Pacific. And you can even join me in the Zoom room and we can interact live as we do it. So would you mark that down? And also a couple of favors you can do for me, if you would, if you're on TikTok particularly, or if you're on YouTube, subscribe to my channel where you are right now. And hit that notification button and click all, and then you'll get notified when I post content. And if you're on TikTok, would you do me a favor after we're finished here and go to my bio and click on the YouTube link to go to my YouTube channel and subscribe and hit the notification button and hit all. And that'll just help. I'm trying to grow my base on YouTube because TikTok pisses me off a lot. But don't tell TikTok. And so one other way you can help, if you want to help financially, I don't take up tithes and offerings. I don't go out and get support, because once you start asking people for financial support, you start to be beholden to them. Thank you, Denise, for the rose. And so I don't want to do that. What I do is I sell subscriptions on a Patreon page. And so if you would like to help support financially, click on the link in my link tree, either on YouTube or on TikTok, and it'll take you to my Patreon page, and you can subscribe. $5.99 a month is the basic, and if I could get 1,000 people subscribed at $5.99 a month, this would really help me survive and live, be able to make my house payment and feed my kids. All right, let me see some of your comments, and I'm going to go to your questions. Kazbot says, I'm agnostic, but I was raised Catholic. I think agnostic is a good place for people to be in this season. It means I don't really know what God is, but I'm seeking. That's kind of how I define it. And so thank you, Kazbot, for letting me minister to you, even as that's where your heart posture is right now. Gnostic Gorilla says, so true and so sad. I think you're referring to the fact that Christians are just not very kind in this season. Mary says, good morning. Hi, Mary. Kazbot says, I really appreciate this spiritual connection. Denise says, I showed my husband one of your videos on YouTube, and we both love listening to you. Snoopy Groupie on YouTube says, hey, Pastor Paul. Hey, Snoopy Groupie. Gnostic Gorilla says, I believe agnostic is actually a good thing. I agree. Somebody earlier was saying, why do you imagine that I need to be saved? And that's just an assumption about people who are followers of Christ. Ryan Marshall says it's a tough season because of how Christians act. I did want to get to is Ever Expanding. Are you still here? Ever Expanding was saying that they and their partner had some bad news about a pregnancy ultrasound. And if you're here, Ever Expanding, I'm just so sad to hear that. Gnostic Gorilla says, you're a good soul. We need more like you. I don't know if you're talking about me or our friend there. Denise said, I love the video, Should I Go to Church? That was one of my Bible talks. Yeah, and I talked about biblically, what does the Bible say about going to a church building? While many Christians are telling us we are required by God to go to church, I'm saying that's not what the Bible says at all. Thank you, Gnostic Gorilla. That's very kind. Kazbot says, I'm in an okay place, can appreciate the good. I agree with you. Awesome. Yeah, I'm just, I wrestle at times with what does God look like? Is there a God? Is there a reason to even pray? And how I view prayer is certainly changing. But again, I'm not going to let that swing me to this other side of the spectrum where I'm just like, okay, I reject everything. There's nothing. I'm an atheist and there's no divine. I think what we do a lot as human beings is like, I've been disappointed over here, so I'm going to go to this big swing over here, rather than living in the tension of like, I'm not totally sure, but I'm not going to allow myself to just find the certainty of one side of the spectrum or the other. I'm going to live in the tension of, I'm not totally sure what the answer is. And that's, to me, what an agnostic is saying, I really don't know. And I'm going to live in the comfort of the I don't know. Do you read any of Bishop Spong's book? I have not. Gnostic Gorilla, is Bishop Spong good? Well, Ever Expanding, I'm sure sorry you're not still here. I just want you to know my heart is broken with you over this bad news of your ultrasound. And I speak blessings. I send you encouragement and energy today. And I sit with you in the pain of that. Deluxe Meat Sack says, nice name. Even though I don't personally agree with a lot here, you are a beautiful soul and so genuine. Thank you, Deluxe. That means a lot. I don't expect everybody to agree with me, but I do expect us to share kindness together. So thank you. I mean, that's really a beautiful thing to say, I don't agree, but I think you're a good soul. That's a really special thing to say. And that's what a lot of people struggle with today, is being able to say, I don't agree with you, but I still acknowledge your humanity and see the beauty of who you are as a member of the universe, or in the Christian tradition, as a creation of God. Rosie's praying for Ever Expanding, says, as we pray as a collective, we lift you up today in community. That's beautiful. All right, Gnostic Gorilla, you have a great day too. You're awesome. Kazbot says, I do take comfort in not knowing because there's something more that I don't understand. I believe that. That's, I think, is a really safe space to be, is like, I'm pretty sure there's something bigger than my world or bigger than the universe. I'm just not sure I'm ready to define exactly what it is. And maybe I don't want to be confined to that. By the way, I showed this earlier, but if you weren't here, I want to show you my shirt today. It says, "Is Jesus your everything bagel?" And this was sent to me by a fan of our Evangelicalish podcast. Evangelicalish is still off this week. We won't be on tonight. We'll start back up next week. But I just love this shirt. This person said I did sort of a mock altar call that just kind of showed the insincerity of the altar call in many evangelical churches. And so I was like, "Will you make Jesus your everything bagel?" And this wonderful fan of the show sent this t-shirt, which is really cool. Casbot says, "There's something so big, but I really appreciate the calm and loving space you've created, and I know I'll get there eventually." Yeah, Casbot, I actually am not sure there is a destination that you're trying to get to. I mean, you can define that for yourself, but I'm really starting to believe that life is a never-ending quest and journey for truth. And so we journey for that truth while learning to love each other and learning to live for the common good. And that's what I think is the life that Christ came to demonstrate, that Christ didn't say, "Okay, here it is, now come here," and that's the arrival point. I actually think that's where American Western Christianity falls incredibly short, that it's saying, once you say this prayer, you've arrived. And boy, just try to be a little bit good if you can be. Try to be a little bit better today if you can be than yesterday. But if you can't, you said the prayer, you're still going to heaven. And I think the words of Jesus just simply don't agree with that principle. When he said, "You may say to me, we prophesied in your name and did all these good work, all these good things." And he says, "Yeah, but you never took care of the poor. You never visited the prisoner in prison. You never clothed the naked. So depart from me. I never knew you." I mean, those are huge words. I never knew you. You were not connected to the kingdom of heaven. So I think Christianity looks very different than what American Christianity says the words of Christ really say. So thank you for being on that journey, Casbah. Jesus is not putting demands. He wants us to understand the message of our own lives. Yeah, and I think what the message of Jesus, his mission statement was, "Give sight to the blind, set the captive free, and declare the year of the Lord's favor." What does that mean? That means he wants to set people free from any bondage of any mindset. And I think Christianity in the West is a bondage to a set of rules and laws and conforming to a norm. Thank you, Ryan. I'm glad you're finding this fellowship so nice. Christianity is a bondage of conforming to a homogeneous norm and following a set of rules and being shamed if you don't. And that, to me, is exactly the bondage that Jesus came to set us free from, not the bondage of looking at too much pornography, but rather the bondage that causes the shame, that brings the emptiness, that leads you to try to fulfill that with something like pornography or alcoholism or overeating or any of those things. Jay Jr. on YouTube says, "Relationship, whether with the divine or each other, is always evolving, so it never ends. We always need to invest in our relationships so they and we can thrive and grow." Whew, that's deep, Jay. Thank you for sharing that. Man, I need to sit and chew on that for a while. Casbot says, "That was a toxic place for me, the church and the homilies." Yeah, I think community is really important as human beings. We're birthed for community. So that's why I'm trying to provide that in sort of unconventional ways through the spiritual mindfulness time, through the conversations I have in the podcast, through Bible Talk, my sermon that I release on Saturday mornings on YouTube, and then Sunday Community, our sort of online church service we have on Sunday mornings. So Ryan is asking me to say again what Jay said on YouTube. It says relationship, whether with the divine or with each other, is always evolving, so it never ends. We always need to invest in our relationships so they and we can thrive and grow. That's a really good way to chew on Jesus and the admonition to love God, love your neighbor as yourself. I invest in relationships so that they can grow. And here's what I hear Jay saying in that too. And then as our relationships thrive and grow, I thrive and grow. That I thrive and grow in making sure my relationships thrive and grow. So that means I have to be self-sacrificial to the community and the relationship. Man, I'm gonna have to go back and watch this because I feel like there's definitely sermons brewing off of this. Brenda says, holy is holy, evil is evil. It's that simple, no debate. Well, I don't really believe in simple answers like that, Brenda, and I don't think the Bible really gives us those simple answers. Casbot says you're growing a garden. Thank you. I think the need for simple answers is where religion comes from, and I think Jesus came to free us from the bondage of religion. So the need for simple answers then requires human beings to develop a code that says this makes you us, and if you violate this code, then we're going to put you outside the camp and tell you that you're not us, and you're going to have to walk through that torment of shame to be able to come back and be a part of us. And it's a really, that is an evil process. But if we say, here's the rule, do it as holy, don't do it as evil, then you're not reading Matthew 5 that I just read in this. You're missing the whole point of Matthew 5 where Jesus said, you've heard it say don't murder, but I'm telling you, that's not where it is. Well, you can agree to disagree, but you're disagreeing with Jesus. So that's your choice. Because he said, you've heard it say don't murder. And he's like, so what he's saying is you're following the rules means nothing to me. You're not murdering doesn't make you a wholehearted person, but your ability to even avoid having malice in your heart towards those you're in relationship with is what proves your love of God. So those are Jesus' words. And I would say read Matthew 5 because he totally breaks down that idea of here's the rules, follow it, be holy, don't follow it, and you're evil. Jesus says, you following the rules doesn't impress me at all. I am not impressed with your rules and your self-sanctimonious ability to say you're following them. Because at the end of the day, when we set the rules, we break them and we forgive ourselves, but we don't forgive other people for breaking them. We become Pharisees. And that's what the Western church is today, but don't tell anybody I said that out loud. Denise says, I'm having a hard time dealing with Christians who use religion to disregard the pandemic. Yeah, I just put that video on TikTok of that wacko nurse in Florida calling all of the school board demons. And that's sadly what my Christian tradition has become. Those people. Sad. All right, guys, I'm going to have to run. Jeannie, thank you for the follow. If you're not following my TikTok page, please do so. But I'm asking you out of the depth of my heart, go to my YouTube channel. You can get it in my link tree on my DM. You love the whispers. Thanks, Ryan. If you go to my DM on TikTok, you can click on the YouTube link and subscribe. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe and click that notification bell and click all so you'll get notified when I'm posting content on YouTube. And if you could, think about helping financially, even at just the $5.99 a month level, by subscribing to my Patreon page. This is how by selling these subscriptions, this is how I fund the work I do here. And so if you can't do it and financially it won't work, just I love you anyway, for sure. And we'll keep doing the things on TikTok and YouTube. But if you can help support, click on the link tree in my bio on YouTube or on TikTok, and that'll give you the link to my Patreon page where you can subscribe. And I will love you, love you, love you for it. Thank you guys for all the gifts. Thank you, Jay, for being my new patron on Patreon. You're awesome. Love you guys. Bless you. Have an amazing, amazing day. But can you just repeat once more? What do you want me to repeat? Janine. Is it Jeannie or Janine? What do you want me to repeat? I'm sorry, just what I've said just now about how you support. Is that what you're saying? Sorry, I'm asking you to put one more comment in. Because I don't want to repeat the financial support if I'm driving people crazy, Janine. So if you're asking what I was just saying about how to help me, I'll say it again. Oh, what Jesus said about rules. Okay, in Matthew 5, Jesus took this premise of the rules. So he said, you've heard it say, don't murder. So he's saying, here's the rule. And you think if you don't murder, you're good. And so, because one of the axioms of the day was, if you whipped somebody, you could only whip them 39 times, because if you whipped them 40, they would die with the cat of nine tails. And so there was a law that you could only whip 39 times. And if you whipped somebody 39 times and beat them to within an inch of their life, but they lived, then you wouldn't be violating this rule of don't murder. And so Jesus said, you've heard it said, don't murder. But I say, and then he took it this step further. I say, if you call your brother a fool, or you have malice in your heart towards people you're in relationship with, you're the one worthy of hellfire. So Jesus was saying, I'm not impressed with your ability to like edge right up to the rule, but not break it and call yourself righteous. That's not impressive to heaven. What is impressive is if you say, I'm not going to have malice. Not only am I not going to murder the person that I'm angry at, I refuse to have malice in my heart towards them. I'm gonna work it through in relationship. That's what real righteousness looks like. So people that say, here's the rule, follow it and you're holy, violate it and you're evil, are missing the message of Jesus, who said he came to release us from bondage, and religion is a bondage. I truly believe that when Jesus ministry on earth was to say, I'm going to get rid of all religion. And so people will say, what about this religion or this religion? And I would say any religion is a man-made way to make a definition of community and homogeneity in that community, to define who's us and who's not us. And us, of course, we define ourselves as being righteous and in right relationship with God. We're truly following God. I think Jesus said, I want to get rid of that religion, and I want to get rid of all religion. Jesus did not come to bring the religion of Christianity to earth, or the religion of Islam, or the religion of Judaism. He came to make us free from religion and make us free to be in relationship with the divine of heaven, with God, if you will, or however you define the divinity of heaven. You're putting this on YouTube. Yeah, I want to share this, what I'm listening to. Thank you, Casbot. That's so cool. That makes me very happy. Yes, it will be on my YouTube page, which you can link to from the link tree in my bio on TikTok. Okay, guys, love you. Remember, subscribe on YouTube, hit that notification, and join my Patreon if you have an ability to help financially. Love you all. Gotta run. So YouTube guys.